happened? Are you guys back? We are back. Are we live? What's going on? Dear Lord. Uh-oh. I think we're live. I think we're back. I think. Let me just make some changes here. Dear Lord. I have no idea what happened. Put a 1 in the chat if you guys are back. I'm back. Check. Mic check 1, 2. I think it crashed when I opened up Adobe Audition to make that damn soundbite.
Was he a tall?
Yeah, he looked like a man. He looked like a man.
All right, we're gonna make that damn.
He looked like a man.
All right, we're doing it. We're making the soundbite. Hold on 1 second, y'all. Are we back? We're back. Damn, we almost lost everybody. Okay. Sorry, y'all. We're gonna make that soundbite really quick. That kind of sucks. Whatever, it happens. Where'd it go? Give me a second, you guys. Give me a second. I gotta figure this out. Do me a favor, if you guys are in the chat, we're back. Put a 1 so I can see y'all. Whitney, we're in a landscape as well, just in case. That sucks. I'm sorry, you guys. I don't know what happened.
He looked like a man.
All right, we got it. All right, you guys. We are back. Let me go ahead and share the screen. Okay, sorry about that, you guys. I have no idea what happened. I was reading your comments and saw that I guess Lauren Conlon was making a crazy face. But just in case you guys don't know, we are streaming in vertical and horizontal, so you can pick which one you like better, right? Normally people enjoy the landscape one, but let's go ahead and kind of get back to where we were, however many of y'all are here.
So, right now, David is the one on trial, obviously innocent until proven guilty.
So who drove the Tesla?
He looked like a man.
There you go.
From everything
It
we
worked.
know so far, it's pointing to him, that he is the sole person responsible, allegedly. And I would like the sole person held responsible for committing a heinous crime to be convicted and to go to jail or prison and to pay the price. So we're on the same team here with that. But of course you're entitled to your opinion, but like, or one is entitled to their opinion, but it's so silly. It's so silly. This world that we live in sometimes. But anyway, yeah, sorry to get personal at the end of that. All right. So hopefully this happens. I think it'll happen June 29th. It's a Monday. I don't think it'll take more than 5 days. That's my guess, but we will see. And I will keep everyone posted up until then with any new filings that I can get, any new information. Again, I do try to keep it very fact-based here. I really do try very hard to say that I am speculating on certain things if I am. And so my apologies if I didn't make certain things clear, but hopefully I have cleared this up now. All right, guys. You can
Is that where we left off at, bitch, please?
He looked like a man.
Check the episode, you can check the episode notes for my story that Taylor and I put together, and I will see you all tomorrow. Thanks for watching. I'm Lauren Conlin.
All right, you guys, that was Lauren Conlin with LA Magazine. We're going to go ahead and transition over to the next topic, because that's probably one that you guys can probably school me on the most, right? But we're going to go ahead and switch on over to Alec Murdaugh. And I'm sure most of you guys know that recently on May 13th, bombshell news came out, and we all kind of learned that that his conviction in the murder trial of his wife and son was overturned. And you guys are probably already know the reasons why, but is that what she said? I wasn't but we'll just kind of get into this right over here, right? Because this was pretty crazy to kind of hear. I don't know if people were shocked. I mean, put a 1 in the chat if you guys saw this coming, or put a 2 in the chat if you guys were pretty shocked to hear about the overturning of the convictions. I want to know who saw this coming, who had an inkling, and who was caught by surprise, because this one was pretty crazy, you guys. Nay says 2. Yes, Joy, make sure you do some homework. It's day 1 of college, girl. You gotta do it. Java Queen, welcome. Thank you so much. We appreciate you subbing to the channel. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you. And with that, we've officially hit 2,200 subs. So shout out to all of you guys, and welcome to the inner circle if you guys have become new members. So shout out to all of you guys. Damn, 2,200 subs. That's a lot for me, right? Not a lot for some of these other creators, but 2,200 subs is a lot for me. So I appreciate all of you guys who followed. If you followed the case closely, zero shock. Okay, the rest of the world is absolutely shook. And is it because you're in the field that you're in, Chloe? Or, this stuff just kind of happens way too often? I'm very curious. Blairsville. Where in the heck is Blairsville? I gotta look that up. Where is Blairsville? I've never even heard of that, but I appreciate you being here. Is that Georgia? Is that Georgia? And then I rock, same here, right? Because this happened way before I was even ever interested in true crime. Blairsville, Georgia. Welcome. We appreciate you for being here. So thank you so much, Java Queen. But yeah, so it was basically overturned because they realized that somebody has been acting very naughty and out of, working out of their scope of practice. And somebody by the name of Rebecca, aka Becky Hill from Colleton County, she was basically the court clerk. And basically, she was doing a lot of shit that she shouldn't have been doing. So let's just let ABC tell you and get everybody up to speed.
Macedo, we have breaking news. The South Carolina Supreme Court is overturning Alec Murdaugh's double murder conviction. A jury found Murdaugh guilty of murdering his wife and son in 2021. But the state Supreme Court just found a court clerk interfered with the jury by attacking Murdaugh's credibility. ABC's Andrew Dimbert and ABC News legal contributor Bernardo Villalona are here with more on what that means for the case now. Andrew, what's the latest here?
Well, this is a stunning decision here. And of course, this trial captivated all the minds and watchers on streamers and Netflix with the documentary. This is a very high profile case here. The South Carolina Supreme Court now throwing out Alex Murdaugh's murder conviction and ordering a new trial. Murdaugh was convicted in 2023 of killing his wife, Maggie, and son, Paul. But now the state Supreme Court unanimously deciding to toss the conviction, the high court finding that the county clerk, Becky Hill, improperly influenced jurors during the high-profile trial. According to the court's opinion just released, Hill made comments like, "Don't be fooled" by Murdaugh's defense and told them to watch his behavior closely while he testified. Murdaugh's attorneys have long argued that jury tampering tainted the verdict. However, a lower court had previously denied their request for a new trial, a decision now reversed by the state's highest court. But Murdaugh is not a free man here. He won't be walking out of prison anytime soon. The former attorney also pleaded guilty to stealing around $12 million from his clients, and he's currently serving a 40-year federal sentence, but still looks like on the murder trial, he's going to get a new trial here.
I don't know if he's going to be alive in 40 years, you guys. So, I mean, is it still a point to retry him? I think absolutely, right? And again, you know, he deserves the right to a fair trial. And in this case, Miss Becky Hill, you know, couldn't mind her own damn business. And she's going to pay for it too, right? Because I think we also found out too that Alex Murdaugh's filed a civil lawsuit against her. And he is not going to let this one go.
According to the state Supreme Court, reversing that conviction.
Bernardo, what do you make of this decision?
This is definitely a huge blow for the prosecution, but this is not one that I'm surprised of what happened, because when you're talking about fundamental fairness, when you're talking about that every person is entitled to a fair trial, and that jurors should not be impacted by outside comments or things that are going out outside of the courtroom. For example, this is why the jury was actually sequestered to try to prevent their verdict from being influenced from outside factors. So I think it was the right decision because the verdict was impacted by comments that was made by Ms. Hill.
And Bernardo, Murdaugh will remain in prison due to those separate convictions on financial crimes. So what are the next steps for him?
So the next steps for him is that the prosecution office will have to determine whether they are going to retry him, because since he's already serving a federal sentence of 40 years, and because of his age, it's technically life that he's serving, it may be the decision of the prosecutor's office not to retry him. But given that it is a homicide trial, the prosecutor, I believe, should be retrying him. So next steps in terms of a trial is going to look completely different than the trial that we saw years ago, because the Supreme Court has already ruled that a lot of that financial crime evidence should not go forward in a new trial. So we're talking about new jurors and also a new presentation of the evidence that can impact a new trial.
All right, it'll be an interesting one. Andrew Dimbert, Bernardo Villalona, thank you.
It's crazy though, right? Because she holds a position that's basically, it's a significant position in court, right? She's supposed to be trustworthy. She also has the authority as an officer of the court, and basically jurors they basically are going to look to her for any kind of guidance, right? And she really just kind of took advantage of that. And basically what she did was, you know, ensure that she kind of developed this rapport with the jurors. And I even read, hold on, let me see. She was having private interactions. She even gave a juror a ride, is what I read. She was talking to some of the jurors about their social media and basically was showing this type of favoritism. And obviously, you cannot do that, right? The court documents were basically saying that this conduct was, they used the term breathtaking, disgraceful and unprecedented in South Carolina. So this took place on May 13th, and then a few days later, I think this was on May 18th. Let me find the video. Hold on. the defense team came out to hold a press conference regarding this, and here is what they said. So let's go ahead and start this really quick, and we'll get right into it.
I'd hoped that would have been the main topic of this press conference, but over the weekend we learned that the Attorney General has announced he's considering the death penalty in this case. Clearly, he is not talking to the lawyers in his office. He's probably talking to his political consultants who thought that was a good soundbite for his governor's campaign. The law is clear that he cannot seek the death penalty if it is due to vindictive prosecution. That is, and here's the question: what does he know today he didn't know 5 years ago? Why is he?
Sorry, you guys. My email address was popping up on the screen. It's weird.
He's saying he's going to seek the death penalty. Is there some new piece of evidence? So we're a little sick and tired, and we've seen this process since the beginning of this case, where Alan Wilson plays politics as opposed to playing prosecutor. He's got great lawyers on his staff. He should listen to them, defer to their judgment. Coincidentally, he has not looked into the attempted jury tampering of Becky Hill. We're going to talk about a civil suit in a minute, but clearly the statute says whoever tampers with a jury or attempts to tamper with a jury is guilty of a crime. Judge Toll's fact findings were clear. Becky Hill attempted. The Supreme Court last week, Becky Hill attempted. So please, Alan, focus on your job and not the politics. Now, having gotten that out of my system, let me turn this over to Jim Griffin, who's going to talk about the lawsuit that was filed this morning, and then Phil Barber and he and I will answer questions. Jim?
Yeah, good morning. Today in United States District Court, federal court, the Charleston Division, we filed a lawsuit on behalf of Richard Alexander Murdaugh Sr. versus Rebecca Hill. In this lawsuit, we file it under the Federal Civil Rights Statute 42, United States Code 1983, to redress constitutional deprivation of rights. Those rights were Alec's right to a fair trial.
Hey, preacher, how's it going?
A right that him be tried before an untampered, untainted jury. With the South Carolina Supreme Court's ruling, it has been adjudged as a matter of state law.
Native girl, what's up, Native girl?
Deprived Alec of his constitutional rights, deprived him of a right to a fair trial, and as a result, we've got to do it all over again, which nobody wants to do. The damages that we've alleged include the over $600,000 that was spent to try the first case and other compensatory damages. Now, let me be clear. Alec Murdaugh owes a lot of people a lot of money. None of this money that is recovered will go to him personally. And the purpose of this lawsuit is to hold Becky Hill accountable for what she did. She has not been held account at all for her conduct. And two is to investigate exactly what she did, which we'll be able to do through the course of civil litigation. We have subpoena power. We can take depositions. And so we're going to be able to understand the entire scope of her conduct. She's yet to be thoroughly investigated by the state, and she's not been held accountable by the state. And that's what we hope to do. That's what we intend to do. And that's what we will do with this lawsuit. Thank you.
Now, I'm curious, for all the legal eagles that are in the chat, I'm curious, what type of criminal charges can she face for what she's done? Because that part, I'm not sure. I know that there's a civil lawsuit that's being filed against her. They're probably looking at $600,000 in punitive damage. So y'all attorneys, y'all legal eagles in the chat, let me know what Miss Becky Hill is facing.
Phil, what you got?
I would just amplify that and say that, you know,
Just wait for the plane to pass by.
you hold it till the plane goes over.
Jury tampering.
jury process, integrity of the jury process was violated by somebody sworn to uphold it. And that's why we're here today, and that cannot go unanswered, as Jim said. And that's what we're going to do with this lawsuit. Beyond that, we've alleged $600,000 in damages. That's a public number, by the way. There was a receivership. That money was allocated from receivership for the defense. That was a waste because of what Becky Hill did, plus other damages alleged. And beyond that, we are going to find out exactly what happened. There will be depositions, there will be subpoenas, and she will be held to account for her actions.
Any questions? None? Okay. No.
Do you guys have any new evidence to present your case forward?
Well, we have. Where'd you go for? Right. Okay. We have received a number of pieces of information post-trial. Some of them came just to us. Some of that came just to us. Some of that went to SLED too, and we don't know what they did with it. Once the trial was over, we don't have the power to subpoena. We don't have the power to really investigate it all. All we did was, after the trial, was look into the jury misconduct, and we rode around Carlton County for a couple months through the swamp on the dirt roads to find these jurors and ask them questions. But once a judge is appointed, and I think we got an order on Friday that the Chief Justice has said, once the remitter is issued, which means right now the Supreme Court has the case, they got to remit it to a trial court, and he'll do that, we think, in the next couple of weeks. So at that point, then we will have subpoena. Then we will have the ability to investigate.
I mean, so how much do you think this is going to change, the retrial that they have coming up? Whenever I know that they're trying to do this before the end of 2026, but what do you think are going to be some of the major challenges that they're going to face? Because we know that, there's going to be a battle between, what kind of evidence is going to be admitted back into the case. I was talking to Chloe, and she was telling me that, the whole thing regarding the first trial was that they used too much information regarding his financial crimes. And this time around, they want them to kind of tone it down. And so they're not going to be able to use the whole financial crimes against him in this retrial, right? So I'm curious what you guys think, or if this is going to change the outcome of a potential retrial. Well, what are your thoughts? I want to know.
With a new murder trial, how hard do you think it is going to be to find impartial jurors?
Well, let me say.
Not only that, right? They just talked about impartial jurors, but just imagine some of the witnesses that they have to try to bring back, right? Some of these witnesses, they'll probably not even be able to remember some of the stuff that they testified against. Their memory is going to fade. This is going to be one for the books, if you ask me. I don't know. I think this is going to be crazy once it comes to the retrial.
This to you. This has gotten extraordinary notoriety, unlike most other cases I've ever tried. But in its time, a case I prosecuted 40 years ago, Pee Wee Gaskins, Muck was there. Pee Wee Gaskins, we had to go through 400 jurors to get 14. It's important that we have. What we want is individual voir dire. That means we individually question the jurors, which is not usually allowed in anything but a death penalty case. So we think we can get them. Now, can we get it in Carlton County? That's debatable, but and I think the state has the same interest, should have the same interest we have in finding 12 or 14 with alternates, impartial, fair jurors. The state should want an unsullied, uninfluenced jury as much as we do.
And have you talked to Alec recently? How does he feel about the overturn?
Jim talked to him this morning.
Yeah, we've talked to Alec a lot lately about many topics, including.
Hey, Ramona, how's it going? Welcome.
But to your specific question, frankly, when we reported back to him after our argument in the South Carolina Supreme Court, we told him it went as well as we could have hoped, and that we were very optimistic that we would get a favorable result. And he appreciated our assessment, but he he was incredulous. His experience has been, since he has been on the back end of civil lawsuits and criminal indictments, that he's lost every significant legal ruling along the way, and that occurred almost daily during the trial. And when he got the order, when I spoke with him, he had already read the opinion of the Supreme Court, and he says, "I'm reading it, I see it. It says reverse, but I still have a hard time believing it. It's really just sinking in." But he was very grateful, very thankful, and he thanked all of us here that are on this side of the podium. He got somewhat emotional. He was so, and I don't think he'll mind for me telling you this. I mean, he has always said, and he told me.
Well, that's true, right, Raina? The prosecution is still saying that the death penalty is on the table, but the defense is saying that you cannot try for the death penalty if this is more so like a revenge tactic, right? So they're going to fight against that and say that, it's not fair for him. But I think I still think that they're gonna give him the death penalty, or at least charge him with it
very early, that he deserves to be in jail, prison, for the financial crimes that he committed. But he says being in jail for something you didn't do is a hard thing to swallow, even though I'm here doing time for what I did do. But then he said, what I was convicted of is so reprehensible. It's something that is so heinous, and to be wrongfully convicted of that is almost unbearable, he says. And so he is very thankful that he's no longer a convicted murderer of his wife and son, and he's appreciative to the court,
not so
for
fast,
applying the rule of law, regardless of outcome. They did their job, and we're all very appreciative of that. The rule of law won out last week.
Have you spoken to Buster, and how does he feel about what happened last week?
So, yeah, I think, thanks for asking that question. And I want to say this. Buster Murdaugh is, hopefully we can all agree, is entitled to his privacy. That kid has been through so much, and that's all he wants is his privacy. So
hey,
we're not going to answer questions about Buster, other than to say, and I'd say it with 100% confidence, that Buster supports his dad, Alec.
With the civil suit, are you hoping to get your hands on the SWAT investigation into the jury tampering allegations by Becky Hill?
Sure. Now, we were given some information through the discovery during the motion for new trial stage. Is that all they've done? I mean, we don't know. But if that is all they've done,
the
that
bird
really wasn't
singing
much of an investigation. And we really don't think they've done much of an investigation, but we certainly plan to.
And let me say this. This also was a Freedom of Information Act served on SWAT to get additional information. We've seen that too. Does it make sense to have the agency who has an inherent conflict, they want the conviction sustained, investigating whether it was valid or not? I mean, it just seems ridiculous. And again, I think the Attorney General's fault is not asking for some independent. He could have gotten a sheriff's department to it. Leon Lott folks, or the sheriff up in Greenville, have a very sophisticated sheriff's department. Charleston also. Use them. But SWED is invested in affirming the conviction. They don't want to find any fault. I mean, that's just human nature. So we think there's going to be plenty of things that weren't looked into, and we want to look into those. And the question is, and Jim and Phil and I have been talking about this, did she do it alone? Did she have somebody help her with this? And if you were sitting in the judge's chambers like we were.
So Joe, you're saying that when all of this goes to retrial, before all that happens, that they're going to have another 1, 2, 3, 4 more grand juries, and you said that he's going to need to be convicted or indicted by the grand jury? I mean, damn. I think it's going to be difficult too for them to find impartial jurors in that grand jury as well, right? I mean, I don't know. This case has gained so much notoriety and so much publicity. There's got to be some. I don't know. It's going to be tough. I don't think it's going to be easy. So I guess this is something that we just got to really wait and see.
When she brought in information on the jury you would call the egg lady, we call Myra Crosby. And listen to what she had to say. One time it was totally made up about some Facebook page. The second time, inexplicably, a anonymous email came to the judge. We weren't told about it. It was investigated by the Attorney General, Thomas Ansled, without us being involved.
Welcome back.
No guardrails on that. But I mean, and call us naive because we were. We didn't press that. And I look back on it. We should have, with 2020 hindsight, we maybe should have taken a little more aggressive. But we still couldn't have peeled that onion back then. But we will now.
Hey, Jay, question about the retrial. Someone suggested that it may have been a mistake to put Alec on the stand. Any thought to whether you're going to put him on the stand in the retrial?
Two things. One, the client makes that decision. Two, that'll be a game day call. So you'll know when we know.
When will any retrial take place?
I would suspect within a year of now, but not by the end of the year. No, hell no.
And why is that? Why can't you go right to trial?
Well, I'll give you a couple of simple examples. One, we assume the same witnesses will testify in the retrial as the trial. We have a, 8,000 page transcript. We've got to break out each witness. We've got to read it, whoever's going to handle that person, outline it, and they can be used to impeach them. So this is like a civil case where you've taken a deposition. Unlike any other criminal case you'll ever defend or prosecute. So that takes time. We've got to go back and see if they've given us all the discovery. There's some inference that we didn't get everything from the prosecution. We go back and scrub that real hard. We've got to hire experts. They've got to look at all the information, new experts, and then give us an opinion.
Do you have enough money to hire new experts?
Jim, why don't you explain financially how this works? And he's got a much better explanation for this than I do. Go ahead.
I mean, there is no.
Thank you so much for the not super chat, the Cash App Native Girl. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. We appreciate your support for the channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
New money, no found money, and I've said previously, we got paid to do a job. We do criminal defense work. And one way you do, you charge by the job. Sometimes you come out ahead, and sometimes you come out behind. But right now we're in the hole. But we got paid to do a job, and we're going to see it all the way through.
You're saying the job isn't finished yet.
Job is not finished yet. We're not walking away from it. So we're going to see it through. That's where we are.
Is there any chance a retrial could happen in Richland County instead of Palisade?
One of the things that we're looking at is a motion to transfer venue to a different county. It would have to be, if that takes place and is transferred, it'd have to be in a county that has a very similar demographics as Colleton County. So that would probably exclude Richland County, Charleston County, which I know all of y'all want to go to Charleston.
But Charleston is contiguous to Colleton, and one of the factors to be considered. I'm just saying.
And so, it's not our pick, but that'll be looked at very closely for sure.
Jim, can we talk about new evidence? I know last week you mentioned DNA evidence under Maggie's fingernails, essentially
right
connected to a male. Can we go into that a little bit more and how that will play a factor in this retrial?
Well, we pointed out during the last trial that they did find a unknown male DNA who was not related to any Murdaugh or any of Maggie's family.
So a quick search basically stated that The murder charges were already brought through an existing grand jury indictment in Colleton County before the first trial. So a retrial after a conviction is reversed usually means that the case goes back to trial on the same indictment, not that the prosecutors start over from scratch with a new grand jury. And that was found on a website, the state. So
her fingernail. That was, not really followed up on. We asked that they follow up on that before the last trial. We don't have possession of that DNA, so we can't do anything with it. We can perhaps, with a new case, back to square one, go and seek an order from the court to compel them to send it off to CODIS. CODIS is the national DNA database. So, I mean, if we were in charge and we had the facilities, the forensic lab, they had SLED, and we had search warrant abilities, we would have done things a lot differently and more timely. A lot of that opportunity is lost, and so that's unfortunate.
More optimism of getting that sent to CODIS, do you believe this go around?
Well, it'll be Chief Justice Kittredge issued an order last week saying he's going to appoint a new judge once the remitter goes down. And that'll be one of the things that we will present to a new judge asking for that relief. Whether he or she will do it remains to be seen.
Jim, you said the lawsuit is about holding Becky Hill accountable and also investigating. You say the state didn't do a good enough job of investigating her. What do you hope that investigation could yield?
The truth.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, just, we don't have a result in mind, but we have a lot of questions that we would like answered. Was she a lone wolf? Was she doing it just for the, siren of celebrity, which she definitely was? And then I'll tell you, this removal of the egg lady juror is very suspicious. And that really wasn't a part of the case. We do make it a part of our complaint. We point out all of the inconsistencies of what she said, according to Judge Newman, that the egg lady, Ms. Crosby's ex-husband, had posted something on Facebook, which we now know was a bald-faced lie, or someone lied to her. I mean, it makes no sense. And if you have questions, and I would encourage all of you to follow up with Joe McCullough, who represents Myra Crosby, who is investigating this as strenuously as we intend to do so. And he's been working on it for quite some time. I mean, the way she was targeted, it just is very curious. And we hope to get to the bottom of that.
Is there any possibility of taking a plea deal for a lesser charge?
Say again?
Is there any possibility of taking a plea deal for a lesser charge?
No plea deal. No, never will plead guilty. Off the table. We want a trial. And they can dismiss it. Yeah, they can dismiss these charges. You know what I mean?
No.
He'll never enter into a plea which required some admission that he did something he didn't do. And that's murdering his wife and son. That's not going to happen.
Who do you think did kill Maggie and Paul?
We wish we knew. We think we could have found out if we were had the tools available. I mean, that opportunity was lost when they failed to follow the tire tracks in the grass leading away from the murders of Maggie and Paul. That opportunity was lost when they failed to maintain the integrity of the GPS data on Maggie's phone. Instead, it was at SLED downloading GPS coordinates at SLED that ultimately overwrote where her phone was and when it was on the night of the murders. And when they finally get into Maggie's phone and able to access the GPS data, you know where it said that phone had been last? Broad River Road, SLED Lab. I mean, that is outrageous that was allowed to happen. So, John, we've gotten a lot of information. People are out there working on behalf of Alec for free, kind of like we are. And they've unearthed some really interesting stuff. And they've turned a significant amount over that to SLED. We'll be curious to see if SLED has done anything with it or will do anything with it.
If any of that investigation now goes back to the house or to the property, or is that a done deal?
There's nothing that I'm aware of that's of evidentiary value on the property.
Let me just jump in and say that the actual scene has been destroyed, right? It's been torn down, the property's been sold, the kennels, all of that are gone. So that's no longer in existence.
But our experts, in preparing for the first trial, did all kinds of forensic tests on the crime scene. A number of, we put in evidence that if somebody could be in the house and shots fired down at the dog kennel, never hear them. I mean, we proved that without any contradiction whatsoever. So the story that he was up at the house and he had to have heard the shotgun and the AR, not. We had an expert run test. Can't do that anymore. So the uncontradicted evidence is going to be if he was in the house, he wouldn't have heard the shots. So, I mean, it's those kinds of things. And we've got measurements. I mean, very, very, very specific measurements on where everything was, which, by the way, SLED did not do. The night of the murders, as they processed, it may not be SLED, maybe local law enforcement, they didn't dust for fingerprints in the feed, not dust. They don't do that anymore, but they did not process the feed room for fingerprints.
What's up, DJ? See no evil.
DNA was is that our hair? Let's pick it up and get it tested. There was a bloody footprint right next to Paul's body. It was a Carlton County Sheriff's deputy's foot. I mean, I'm not a big CSI fan, but this looks to me like they violated every basic rule. And we had a witness testify to that. So they got a lot of explaining to do.
What do you think the odds are of Alex getting an acquittal in the retrial?
Slim to none.
Are playing those internet betting sites too much. I have no idea what it's
You're not playing them at all.
Well, you ought to try.
What do you
Thank you, Ace. Appreciate you.
We have no idea. I mean, we don't predict football, basketball, or trials.
Just following up on
Although they say that all those sports are rigged, right? But who am I?
what Nick said about the failures. During the trial, you'll remember SLED explained how they do murder investigations, and they do, they draw an imaginary circle, and the imaginary circle that they drew here, Alec was in the middle of it, and he was in the middle of it from the night of the murder.
DJ See No Evil, this is about the Alex Murdaugh case and the overturning of the convictions of the murder charges he received for his wife and his son back in 2021.
And they knew that Alec left Moselle and went to his mother's house at Almeda, and then came back to Moselle and found his wife and son murdered brutally. And do you think for 1 minute that they should have gone to Moselle, Almeda, to see if there's anything of evidentiary value? Were there murder weapons at Almeda, which they want to intimate, during the trial? Oh, he parked over here, so he must have got rid of the guns over there. I mean, they had the opportunity to exclude Alec from that circle, but they didn't do it because they just failed so miserably in what their jobs were.
Let me say one other thing that brings to mind. As most of y'all know, I was a prosecutor for 12 years, and this is 40 years ago. If a body was found and they wanted to determine time of death, the coroner or medical examiner would take an anal thermometer and get a core body temperature. Then take a thermometer and get the ambient temperature. And in this case, alleged an hour and a half prior they'd been killed, sort of. The coroner showed up, and he did something just amazed me. He took his hand and he stuck it under Paul's armpit, and then that same hand stuck it under Maggie's armpit, and he could calculate the time of death based on that. I mean, that's what we're dealing with here, folks. Stuck his hand under the armpit? Really? And yet, then they said, "Oh, well, we know when Maggie stopped using her phone and Paul stopped using his phone."
That sounds a little inaccurate, right? I remember, if anything, they check the temperature of their liver, but I don't know what the new practices are to determine like the time of death.
time of death. They ignore the fact that cell phone service down there was spotty at best. A number of people testified there was no cell phone service. So simply because they weren't using their phone doesn't mean they were dead. I mean, this thing has more holes in it than Swiss cheese.
In your opinion, what ultimately got Alex convicted?
I think 2.5 weeks of that of widows,
Got an armpit
orphans,
fetish. Yep.
mentally disabled kids testifying, not that he stole their money, but how just maliciously he stole the money, how he lied to them. I mean, when they finish with that, they're not going to believe forensic evidence. They're not going to believe him. They're not going to believe anything because he was so vilified.
And when he testified, the jury was programmed not to believe him by the clerk of court. And so, no matter what he said, I mean, he got on the stand to answer, questions about where he was and what he did that night. And we know now that, as a Supreme Court accurately described, she sought to undermine his credibility before he even testified it. Understand, she's the second highest ranked court official in the trial. And she has closest contact with the jury, develops close relationships with them over 6 weeks. And, she is the one that they see more, she's the elected official. She summoned them all in. Her name's on the summons. Her name's on the check that they get to payment every week for serving on the jury. I mean, and this person is back there in the jury room telling them in so many words, don't believe Alec when he testifies. Don't believe the defense. Don't let them confuse you. All of that happened at the end of the trial, right before we put up our case. So that is one reason he got convicted, I promise you.
You mentioned new evidence. If you already addressed this, I apologize, but you mentioned new evidence that you're going to bring out. You mentioned DNA found under Maggie's fingernails. Is there other new evidence?
Well, let me say this. If there is, we tell you, you're going to, I know you're not doing this intentionally, but you'll be telling them. So I don't think we tell you. How about that?
Fair enough.
Maybe not unintentionally. Never mind. Anything else?
Do you think that Becky's done this with other trials before down in Colleton County?
Right.
Well, you don't know, do you? That's why this lawsuit is so important, because it's going to allow us to peel the onion on her and what she's done on this case.
Hey, Heather, what's up?
She's a lone wolf. Has she done it on other cases? But certainly, it was a despicable act, and the Supreme Court found it to be such. Anything else? Thank you very much for coming today.
So what do you guys think? What are your thoughts? Let's kind of recap. Yeah, I mean, what is everybody thinking? And when do you guys think we're going to get this retrial? Right. I think what's crazy is that, due process isn't really a technicality, right? It's basically the foundation of everything that kind of protects us. And, when it falls, when it fails, everything kind of has to reset and kind of go back to trial, in my opinion. And this time the courts have to make sure that they do their jobs. I'm curious why this wasn't caught during the trial, though, right? How did they not know that there was jury tampering going on? She must have done a good job covering up her tracks, better than David Burke's, covering up his tracks. So I don't know. I'm curious. What is everybody's thoughts? And I'm definitely gonna have to revisit this case because this happened many years ago, before I was even into true crime. So I'm gonna have to sit down, study. And if any of you guys know of any documentaries or any videos that kind of do a good recap on this, let me know, because I want to watch. Murdaugh did it, but I don't know if the state can prove it without 12 hours of motive evidence, and if he keeps his dang mouth shut. Joe says they knew. They just didn't care. Well, that kind of sucks, right? If that's our justice system, if nobody cares, then who does, right? I don't know. But that's going to be it for me, you guys. I do have class early in the morning. I promise you guys I'm back. So we're going to try to get back on a more normal schedule. It's been about 2 weeks since I've been gone, so I do appreciate all of you guys who are back here to hang out, to kind of listen and recap some of the stuff that's gone on. So I do appreciate it. Do me a favor, if you guys are watching on the replay crew, do me a favor, hit the like button. For all of you guys in the live, hit the like button. I appreciate it. We are back though, so that is that. Tonight we did hit 2,200 subs, so thank you everybody who's subbed to the channel. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe if you haven't already. That's gonna be it for me tonight. I will see you guys later. Thank you guys for hanging out, you guys. I love you guys. We'll talk soon. I don't know when, but we'll do it soon. Take care, you guys. Peace.